music or noise. The sound to which our ears respond might be classified as either music or noise.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 26 of Low Limit Football on Low Limit Poker Radio. I am your host, Joe Usello, and flying solo tonight after a little bit of internet fail and some trouble, but I've called the IT desk, and Mr. Devine got me straightened out here, so I think we're running pretty stable now. Going to try to give you a decent show, trying to make up for last week as well, so... had ourselves an exciting weekend of football across Europe. We're going to start to try and bring in tonight a little bit of MLS because the European seasons are winding down. We're going to end up with a whole lot of nothing to watch for about 4 to 6 weeks until about the World Cup. So we've always wanted to bring in the MLS crowd or the MLS game, especially seeing that we're here in the United States. So we're going to start to incorporate that, especially at the request of Sir Bob. So we're going to start introducing some of the teams tonight and hopefully give you a good show. Want to start out by talking about the recent passing of not one but two reasonably famous coaches in the world. Starting first with Vujadin Boskov, who was he's a Serbian footballer and coach who was most famously the coach of the Yugoslavian national team, who headed them in the Euro 2000, who lost famously 4-3 to Spain and then went out to Holland on the quarterfinals. He passed away this weekend at the age of 82 after a long illness. He was previously the coach, just looking through his Wikipedia stats here, a long storied career. He did actually play, scored 15 goals in 185 appearances for Vojvodina, and appeared in 13 matches for Sampdoria before completing his career at Young Boys. But he's most famously known for his coaching prowess. He was for FC Den Haag. He was the coach there from 74 to 76. Coached Feyenoord 76 to 78. He was the coach of Real Zaragoza in Spain, 78-79. He did coach Real Madrid from 79 to 82, Sporting Gijón in 83-84, and then moved over to Italy, coaching Ascoli in 1984 to 86, famously coaching Sampdoria in 86 to 92 and 97 to 98, and coaching Roma 92-93 and Napoli 94 to 96, as well as Perugia in 1999, completing his career there. For coaching for clubs. His greatest achievement as a coach was in 1991, leading Sampdoria to their only Serie A Scudetto, and he got them to the European Cup final, losing to Barcelona at Wembley Stadium. Like we had mentioned earlier, Vujadin Boskov passing away this week at 82. Probably the lesser known of the two coaches that passed away this weekend, the other being Tito Villanova. And just looking over both Wikipedias this, in preparation for the show, Tito really didn't have the pedigree of Boskov that that Boskov carried, but Tito certainly by the reactions from around the world this weekend at the news of his passing on Friday, really hit home. You could see the emotion that the Barcelona players carried this weekend. Tito actually came up through the ranks of Barcelona. being promoted to the first division with Pep Guardiola. I believe it was in 2008, looking over his Wikipedia quickly. And in 2012, Barcelona confirmed Pep Guardiola's departure, appointing Villanova to the head position. In 2012 to 2013, he led them to win 6 titles in 1 year, only losing 8 competitive games during the season and winning their 22nd championship. They won 6 major trophies that year, becoming the first team in Spain to win the Domestic Cup, League Cup, and European club titles in the same season. This weekend, losing his famous battle to cancer, he was diagnosed on December 19, 2012 with parotid gland cancer, and had a relapse of it on July 19, 2013. Resigned at Barcelona's coach, stating that he wasn't capable of putting in the time and the effort necessary to coach and handle this illness and try to get himself better. And unfortunately losing that battle to cancer this past Friday. So our condolences to both families, the Villanova family and the Boskov family. Obviously the coaching world in world football today losing a couple of great people. So let's start it off. Let's head over to a quick little note before we get into our standard European leagues that we cover. I just want to mention that Ajax this weekend did win the Eredivisie title, and will be back in the Champions League. Kind of ran away with it, stumbled in the Champions League this year, and actually bowed out of the Europa rather quickly and kind of on their face, but obviously coming back to be able to regain their title, and they'll be back at it again as Ajax always is. They're always a strong side. So let's move on. Let's get into La Liga here as I keep checking our monitor and making sure we're running nice and stable. So kicking off again, we're 2 weeks short. The first thing I'll cover is 2 weeks ago we had predicted the Atletico Madrid Elche match as a 3-0 win for Atletico. They did go on to win 2-0. And we'll start off there. We'll give you the 2-week prediction, and then we'll lead it off from there. So getting into Friday's matches, we had Elche 1-1 draw with Levante. On Saturday, Rayo Vallecano with a 3-0 win over Granada. Getafe 1-0 over Malaga. Real Madrid 4-0 over Osasuna on a couple of beautiful goals by Cristiano Ronaldo. Sociedad 1-0 over Real Betis, who is pretty much in relegation hell right now. And on Sunday, moving on, Almeria 2-1 over Espanyol, Atletico Madrid 1-0 over Valencia, Athletic Bilbao 3-1 over Sevilla, and in a heavy-hearted match, Barcelona coming back from 2 goals down against the Yellow Submarine to beat Villarreal 3-2. So let's head over to the standings. And currently, Atletico Madrid still in full control of La Liga. And without any hiccups from here on out. They do have that big match coming up against Barcelona, but other than that, should be able to see this one through. Atletico, 88 points after 35 matches. Barcelona in second on 84 points. Real Madrid has only played 34 matches. They are on 82 points, so they could still potentially catch Atletico, and they would hold the goal scoring differential if they can win their matches out and Atletico stumbles to Barcelona. So, moving forward, Athletic Bilbao in 4th place on 65 points, well back of the top 3. However, they will make the Champions League qualifier, it looks like. They're 6 points ahead of Sevilla at the moment at 59 points, Sociedad on 57 points, and then Villarreal at 52 points. Probably 5 points going to be a little too much to make up to catch the Europa positions. Propping up the bottom of the table, as mentioned earlier, Real Betis, 22 points. They are losers of 5 of their last 6. In 5 in a row. They are certainly relegated. They confirmed mathematically. Valladolid on 32 points, still not out of it yet. Almeria 33 points. Getafe just outside the relegation zone at 35 points, as well as Osasuna. Elche on 36 points, and probably the last one to really worth mention is Granada at 37 points. They are 4 points clear of the relegation drop zone. Moving up to Malaga and Espanyol on 41 points each, pretty safe at this point. So, as mentioned, our featured match of the week, if you followed our Facebook page, I did post them there. I did post it on our pokerforums.org dedicated thread as well. And the predicted the match of the week that we had chosen for last week was Athletic Bilbao Sevilla, and we had predicted a 1-1 draw between these two. Sevilla coming in reasonably strong, coming off a big win, which we'll talk about as well in the Europa earlier in the week, but kind of falling on their face on this one and losing an opportunity to really get into those, to maybe possibly battle for the Europa position. Losing to Sevilla, losing to Bilbao 3-1. Just checking the standings there as well. Sevilla currently is 6 points back. That would have put them within 3 points and really would have given them a shot at shooting at the Champions League qualifying position. Goal in the 4th minute for Bilbao by Suseseta. And then Ilker Munayin in the 53rd minute and Ander in the 73rd minute to make it 3-0 before Kevin Gamiro adding one in the 79th minute to try to save a little bit of face in this one. Shots were 12-9 in favor of Bilbao. Shots on target 4-3 in favor of Bilbao. And Bilbao also held 61% of the possession. So a comfortable win for them. Man of the match was Ander for them with an 8.9 rating according to WhoScored.com. So moving on into this week's match, we're going to see Sevilla again with a shot at possibly making some noise. This time against Villarreal. Villarreal playing Barcelona tough this week. Trying to climb back into this Europa League race. Again, 5 points back. They've lost their last 2 matches, 3-2 to Barca and 2-0 to Malaga, while in their last 2 matches, obviously, we just talked about the 3-1 loss to Bilbao for Sevilla, but prior to that, winning 4-0 at Granada. So Sevilla, and as well, and prior to that, they had won 3 straight, beating Granada, beating Betis, and beating Espanyol. So, and then also with their 2-0 win against Valencia in the Europa League semifinal, they had come in before falling on their face to Bilbao. They'd come in pretty strong. So, with that in mind, just looking at these two teams quickly, Villarreal led by Uche with 12 goals, Perbet with 10, and Giovanni Dos Santos with 10, while Sevilla is led by Kevin Gamiro with 15, Baca with 14, and Ivan Rakitic with 12. Rakitic leading the way in assists for the team with 10 assists, while Gio Dos Santos is leading the way with 7 assists. Looking at their last 6 matches against Sevilla, 4 wins, 2 losses, while Villarreal is 2 wins, 1 draw, and 3 losses. I'm going to take Sevilla in this one. Count on them 2 weeks in a row. You'd think they'd make it through. I think this one they'll do that. They'll kind of lock up their Europa position for next week. So I will go 2-1 in favor of Sevilla, and I'm just writing I'm just writing that down so I can put that down later as I make these picks as we talk. So that is gonna be our preview for this week in La Liga. Again, only 3 matches to go there. It's going to be interesting to see if Atletico can hold on to that position and maintain their hold. Moving on into Ligue 1, and I'm just going to get into the scores here. Starting on Wednesday, we had Paris Saint-Germain with a 1-0 win over Evian, and Toulouse 0-0 draw with Lyon. On Friday, we had Nantes and Marseille 1-1 draw. On Saturday, Monaco 4-1 over Ajaccio, Guingamp 1-0 over Valenciennes, Saint-Etienne 2-1 over Evian, Montpellier 2-1 over Toulouse, Rennes 1-1 draw with Lorient, Nice 1-0 over Reims. And on Sunday, we had Paris Saint-Germain again in a makeup match because they were in the Coupe de France. 1-1 draw with Sochaux, surprisingly, a little bit of an upset there. Lyon 4-1 over Bastia, and Lille with a 2-1 win over Bordeaux. Going into last week's predicted match, 2 weeks ago we had predicted Marseille and Lille with a 1-0 win. I got this one wrong again, and it was a 0-0 draw, so a very close game. This week's match, however, was Lyon-Bastia, and Lyon was predicted, or we had predicted, a 2-0 win for Lyon, and they were up 2-0 at halftime on this one. I did get a chance to kind of keep an eye on the score in this one a little bit. But Lyon winning this one 4-1. Gomi in the 14th minute and Fekir in the 23rd minute starting the way. Gianni Bruno in the 47th coming back in the second half for Bastia to take one back. but then Bakary Kone and Alexander Lacazette in the 50th and 64th minute, respectively, to close this one out 4-1 for Lyon. Shots in this one, 17-8 in favor of Lyon. Shots on target, 7-2 in favor of Lyon. And Lyon holding 67% of the possession on this one as well. Man of the match on this one was Bafembi Gomis. Bafetimbi Gomis was declared man of the match on this one. So pretty comfortable win for Bastia. There really wasn't, if I remember correctly, looking through the matches, there really wasn't a whole heck of a lot to write home about in Ligue 1 the past couple weeks, because things have been pretty much decided. Just as a quick glance before we go through the table, PSG is going to lock up this thing with one more point. Monaco's solidly in second place. Lille is going to be in that Champions League qualifier position, 7 points ahead of Saint-Etienne. Saint-Etienne is going to be in a dogfight with Lyon for the Europa position. That's going to probably be the interesting thing to see moving forward. The other thing that's going to be fun to watch is probably going to be Sochaux's ability to possibly escape the relegation zone, being 4 points behind Evian and Guingamp. Guingamp just breaking a 5-game losing streak. So those are probably the only interesting things left on the table in France. Everything else has been pretty much decided. So with that in mind, like we had mentioned just a moment ago, it's going to be interesting to see if Lyon can catch up and jump into this Europa position. And their first opportunity is going to be playing 6th place Marseille. That's going to be our game of the week. So on this one, just looking at the preview quickly, Gignac is the leading goal scorer for Marseille with 14 goals. Lacazette with 15 for Lyon, and Gomis with 13. They both scored again this weekend. Payet is the leading assist man with Valbuena for Marseille, and Bedimo and Gorkov are the leaders for, and also Briand for Lyon. Lyon coming into this one winning 4 of their last 6, 4 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. Marseille on a little bit of a cold streak. Although they're unbeaten in their last 5, they are 2 wins, 3 draws, and a loss in their last 6. Looking at this one, Lyon is really looking like they're firing on all thrusters right now. They're doing very, very well. Obviously, the result against Bastia would indicate that as well. Goal scoring is not a huge thing. Aside from Gignac and Marseille, really don't have much going on there. Payet with 8 goals. They've scored 47 on the season so far, so they're averaging maybe a hair more than a goal and a third a game. So I'm going to go with Lyon in this one. I'm going to take Lyon with a 2-0 win, and I think they're going to kind of do their best to get into this thing and really cause problems for Saint-Etienne moving forward. So let's go into the tables for Ligue 1. PSG leading the way, 83 points. Again, I believe they need just one more point and they'll lock up the Ligue 1 title. Monaco in second place, 75 points. They are on a 4-game winning streak, however. Lille in third on 67. They are unbeaten in their last 6. Saint-Etienne on 60 points. They are also unbeaten in their last 6. Lyon in 5th place, just outside the Europa position at 58 points. Marseille in 6th at 53, and Bordeaux at 48 points. Bringing up the rear in 8th and 9th are Reims and Toulouse on 45 points each. Looking at the bottom of the table, Ajaccio relegated already mathematically on 20 points. Valenciennes, 29 points. They are losers of 5 of their last 6 and probably not going to make it out of this drop zone either. Moving forward, Sochaux on 34 points, and then 4 points up to Guingamp and Evian on 38 points, with Rennes probably comfortably out of the relegation race at 40 points, 6 points ahead of Sochaux. So that is the wrap-up for France. Let's move over to the German Bundesliga, which we've been talking about quite a bit over the past few weeks, because with Bayern Munich already solidifying their hold on that league, there's really not a whole heck of a lot to go over in this one. So let's get over here and get into the scores. Starting on Friday, Hannover 96 with a 0-0 draw against Stuttgart. Hertha Berlin 2-0 over Braunschweig. Bayern Munich 5-2 over Werder Bremen. Mainz 2-0 over Nuremberg. Wolfsburg 2-2 over Freiburg. Hoffenheim 0-0 draw with Eintracht. Red card in that one. Bayer Leverkusen 2-2 with Borussia Dortmund. which was our selected match of the week. Augsburg 3-1 over Hamburg, and Borussia Mönchengladbach 1-0 over Schalke. 2 weeks ago, our featured match in this league was Borussia Dortmund-Mainz. We had predicted a Dortmund 2-0 win. They actually went on to win 4-2. This week, we had predicted a Dortmund 2-0 win over Bayer Leverkusen, knowing that Leverkusen was a little bit on a downswing. They're winners of 3 of their last 5. But really falling out of favor. They were at one point challenging Bayern Munich midseason for this title, trying to keep pace with them, and they've really fallen off the pace, having lost 11 matches this season. But we had predicted a 2-0 Dortmund win, and we ended up getting a 2-2 draw in this one. So looking at the stats on this, Lars Bender opening the scoring for Leverkusen in the 7th minute, followed by Oliver Kirch for Dortmund to draw at 1-1 in the 29th. Gonzalo Castro then retaking the lead 2-1 in the 35th minute, and only to be outdone 4 minutes later by Marco Reus on a penalty kick to draw 2-2, and that would do it. No other scoring after that, just a bunch of yellow cards and a bunch of subs moving through there. So looking at the statistics on this one, shots were 16-14 in favor of Leverkusen. Shots on goal were 6-5 in favor of Dortmund. Leverkusen hitting the woodwork once, and Dortmund holding 60% of the possession. So really an even match overall in this one, but again, not a whole heck of a lot. We expected this one to go more in Dortmund's favor, and clearly didn't happen that way. So moving forward, we're going to go into this week's match, and again, going back into the Bundesliga, we've got a good one for you this time. Borussia Mönchengladbach and Mainz. Currently, Mönchengladbach sitting 6th, holding the last Europa position at 52 points. Right behind them, 2 points back at 50 points is Mainz. So this is a battle of 6th versus 7th. I'm looking at the two teams here quickly and just looking at their top scores. Raphael is the leading goal scorer for Mönchengladbach with 15 goals. Cruz with 11 goals. And on Mainz, Okazaki with 14 goals leading the way for those guys. Looking at their run of form, Mönchengladbach, 3 wins, a draw, and 2 losses in their last 6, while Mainz is 3 wins, 3 losses. So again, very, very even. Both teams score a decent amount of goals. We've got 55 goals for Mönchengladbach. Mainz has scored 48. Mönchengladbach, though, not giving up many. They're only giving up 39 goals in 32 matches, while Mainz has given up 49. Just want to take a quick peek here. We'll mouse over those last matches for them. Mainz beating Nuremberg 2-0. Prior to that, losing to Dortmund 4-2. Beating Werder Bremen 3-0. Losing to Eintracht. Eintracht has really been playing these big teams tough lately. Losing to Eintracht 2-0. And beating Augsburg 3-0. And for Mönchengladbach, obviously beating Schalke, which was no easy feat. 1-0 this weekend, losing to Freiburg 4-2 in an upset, drawing Stuttgart 1-1, beating Nuremberg 2-0, and beating Hamburg 3-1. Hamburg, I thought I heard a statistic earlier today. They're the only German Bundesliga team that has never been relegated, and they're in danger of that happening this season. So, looking over these two teams, I think I'm going to take, how I don't like to take losers, or I don't like to take draws. I'm going to take Mönchengladbach 2-1 in this one. I think they're going to be a little too tough, and obviously their ability to score goals is, they've got some pretty good goal scorers on their team. They've played well. Even though they're not in perfect form right now, they're still playing very well. So we're going to go with 2-1 Mönchengladbach over Mainz in this one. So, going back into the standings, we've played 32 matches. Again, these guys play 36 in the Bundesliga. So, with 32 matches played, we have Bayern Munich have already won the league, 84 points. Borussia Dortmund, 65 points. They're going to pretty much lock up that second place. They've actually unbeaten in their last 6. Schalke in third place on 58 points, 3 points ahead of Bayer Leverkusen, who is currently in the qualifier position for Champions League, but could possibly sneak into that automatic spot. Right behind them, 1 point behind them, is VF Wolfsburg on 54 points, Mönchengladbach on 52, and then just outside the Europa League positions, Mainz on 50, Augsburg on 46, probably not going to be enough time to catch up into that race. Hoffenheim and Hertha Berlin on 41 points each. At the bottom of the table, Braunschweig, 25 points, Nuremberg 26, and Hamburg 27. Hamburg's in the playoff position at the moment. They are 5 points back of Stuttgart, who is on 32, and Werder Bremen, Hannover, and Freiburg, and Eintracht on 36. Probably going to be definitely safe there. They're 9 points out. So right now it's Hamburg's to catch Stuttgart, or they're going to end up for their playoff lives. So that is the German Bundesliga. Let's move over to Serie A, and just loading the scores here quickly. We'll start with today's score, which was 3-1 Juventus over Sassuolo. Juventus needing just one more point to wrap up the Serie A. So going back into Friday, Roma 2-0 over AC Milan. Fiorentina 3-0 on the road over Bologna. Inter and Napoli 0-0 draw. Verona 4-0 over Catania. Sampdoria 2-1 over Chievo. Cagliari 1-0 over Parma. Torino 2-0 over Udinese. Lazio 2-0 over Livorno. And Atalanta and Genoa 1-1 draw each. So our featured match 2 weeks ago was Parma-Inter. And we had predicted a 3-2 win for Internazionale. They won the match 2-0, so got the over-under wrong, but got the score correct. This week, we had chosen Inter-Napoli, and we had predicted a 2-2 draw in this one, and it was a 0-0 draw. So got the score correct, got the over-under wrong. So let's get into the statistics on this one. And again, with 0-0, there are no goals. Looks like 3 yellow cards for Napoli, and Hernandez, the only yellow card picked up for Inter, so nothing really exciting there. Gorkan Inler, who we'll talk about in a few minutes with Switzerland, man of the match in this one. Shots on this one, Napoli 15, Inter 14. Shots on goal, this is an interesting stat. 6 for Inter, 1 shot on goal for Napoli. 15 shots taken, 1 shot on goal. They did hit the post once and held 56% of the possession. So really, no goals, not really much to talk about here. So our featured match this week is the Derby della Madonna. It is the Milan Derby, AC Milan against Inter Milan. Looking at the two teams in their standings, I'm just going to take a look at it from over here. Inter currently in 5th place in the Europa position at 57 points. AC Milan losing this past week, and I can't remember who it was. Well, they lost to Roma 2-0, kind of fallen off the pace here a little bit. Probably not going to be enough to catch up, and they're actually calling for oh boy, I can picture him and the coach's head, and I just can't, for some reason, I'm just drawing a blank on his name right now. So, excuse me. Looking at the goal scorers, leading the way for AC Milan, Mario Balotelli, of course, 14 goals, Kaká with 7, and Soli Montari with 4. Inter led the way by Ricardo Palacio with 15, Mauro Icardi with 8, and Nagatomo with 5. Robinho, Balotelli with 5 assists each, and Alvarez and Palacio with 8 and 7 assists, respectively. Freddie Guarin in there with 6 as well. So, looking at this one and their run against each other, Milan has won 4 of the last 6. I'm sorry, Inter has won 4 of the last 6 matches against AC Milan. Of course, Milan has beaten Milan in this one. Most recently, looking at the December 22nd match, it was Inter 1, AC Milan 0, with a red card to AC Milan in that one. I'm going to take Inter in this one. I just don't think, at this point, Inter's got a lot more to play for than AC Milan. There's rumblings about Balotelli, and they should get rid of him. And of course, the coach's name is just totally blowing my mind right now, and I can't remember. So I'm going to go with a 1-0 Inter victory on this one, and just a repeat of their last match against each other, and I think that's just how it's going to go. So moving into the Serie A standings. Juventus, 93 points on 35 matches. I don't think we've got anybody quite that high in the point total right now. They've only lost 2 matches this year. They are 1 point away from locking up the Serie A. 30 wins on the season in the league, which is amazing. Roma in second place, 85 points. And again, Roma's won 26 matches. They've only lost 2 this season as well. Napoli in third place with 69 points. They are solidly in that Champions League qualifier position. Fourth place, Fiorentina on 61 points, Inter on 57, and I don't think Torino, Verona, or Lazio are going to be able to catch either of them. They're 5 points back, at 52 points. Parma and AC Milan 9th and 10th respectively on 51 points. Bringing up the bottom of the table, we're going to have probably Catania relegated, but good news for the Sicilians like me. Catania is probably going down. Palermo is winning the Serie B and going to be coming back into Serie A. So there'll be a Sicilian presence next year in the Serie A anyway. But Catania 23 points, Livorno 25 points, then Bologna and Sassuolo tied 28 points. One of them in the relegation zone, the other one outside. 2 points up to Chievo on 30 points, and then Udinese and Cagliari safe at 39 points each. So this is going to be a battle of, it looks to me, 4 teams for 2 relegation positions. Chievo, Sassuolo, Bologna, and Livorno, with Catania pretty much solidified in that spot. Going to be interesting to see. That's going to be the fun part to watch in Italy moving forward. It's almost a battle in futility. Who doesn't want to get relegated? And I haven't gone deep enough to look at the schedules coming up to see who is, where they stand, where if anybody could possibly make it out of, some easy games where they could make it out of there or not. So let's move on. And we made our predictions. So we're going to move into the Premier League, which is our last league that we cover for the evening. Moving into last Monday's match, which we would have given you if we aired last week, which was Man City 3-1 over West Brom. Then Saturday, Southampton 2-0 over Everton in a little bit of an upset on 2 own goals by the defense. Pretty amazing. Tottenham 1-0 over Stoke. Swansea 4-1 over Aston Villa. West Brom 1-0 over West Ham. Fulham and Hull to a 2-2 draw. Fulham had taken a 2-0 lead in that one, only to give it all back and lose in that one. So I just heard a little bit of a pop, and it looks like Sir Bob. And Sir Bob, thanks for joining me. We had a little bit of a fail. We're in the Premier League at the moment, and we're working our way through the scores right now. Just finished with Fulham and Hull. Man United 4-0 over Norwich. Sunderland, moving on to Sunday, Sunderland beating up on Cardiff 4-0, really making their case to get out of that relegation zone. Chelsea Liverpool 2-0 to the delight of Man City fans, and closing out Sunday's results were Man City 2-0 over Crystal Palace. Moving into, just if I can get my mouse here to work, we'll move into Monday's results, which were today's. Arsenal 3-0 over Newcastle. So our featured match 2 weeks ago, if I can just get over to here and look at it, was Everton, Man United. We had predicted 2-1 Everton, and it ended up being 2-0. So right result, wrong over under. Let's see. Who was coach you wanted to know? And I'm sorry, I'm just reading the comments. I don't remember. Was it Louis van Gaal? Because I know we were talking about Van Gaal to Tottenham until David Moyes got his head chopped off, and now the rumors are Van Gaal to Man United. But I'm not sure which coach it was we were talking about 2 weeks ago. Sorry. So if you can refresh my memory, Sir Bob, I'd love it. It was AC Milan's. I can't remember why AC Milan's coach escapes me, and it's killing me right now that I can't remember him. It was the coach of AC Milan, Dutch national, played for AC Milan, played in the midfield. It's going to kill me. And I refuse to go and try and look it up. But beat out Pippo Inzaghi for the position from the youth leagues. Thank you, Clarence Seedorf. My God, I can't remember. I can't believe I can't remember. It's been a long day. So Clarence Seedorf is the one that they're talking about possibly getting rid of and maybe bringing Inzaghi in. And the Seedorf defenders, who were Berlusconi, seem to be nowhere to be found. That's something that's come up in recent weeks that we've heard people talking about. So, but thank you, Sir Bob. As always, you have my brains, and you keep me on the straight and narrow. So again, let's get back into it. Liverpool, Chelsea, to the delight of Sir Bob, among others. Chelsea 2, Liverpool 0, and this game was really interesting. I did get to watch this game on Sunday. Demba Ba scoring in the 45th minute, really in injury time, on a Steven Gerrard slip. Traps the ball, slips, the ball gets away from him. Demba Ba walks in unscathed, beats Mignolet, and finishes it off. Really changes the complexity of the game. Although, in my opinion, Liverpool dominated the possession. I didn't go down to look at the stats yet, and I usually do that as we sit here and talk. And Sir Bob's always had a fondness for Chelsea and probably Jose Mourinho at the same time. But, really you could see Chelsea's game plan here is just pack it in and counter. And that's how they rolled. And it worked with the Gerrard slip up. Now Liverpool's got to chase the game, and Chelsea was already prepared to pack it in and counter. And the same thing, Fernando Torres, Willian, they go on a break. And again, it was in injury time in the 90th minute, but didn't really matter at that point. It solidified it. And although Sir Bob thought Steven Gerrard was a little bit of a joke 2 weeks ago for bringing the team in and having that little chat, he really enjoys Steven Gerrard now. So I think that should be noted. So again, Dembaba in the 45th, Willian in the 90th minute. Shots on this one, not surprisingly, 26-11 in favor of Liverpool, 8-4 on goal in favor of Liverpool, and 73% of the possession at Anfield for them. Now they're going to be chasing it as well, because if I did my math correctly, Liverpool can be caught by Man City and actually lose this title if both teams win out from this point on. So. But let's get into it, because that's going to be our featured match of the week, which is Everton Man City this weekend. And again, looking at these two teams, Everton's had the better of it. 3 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses in the last 6 head-to-head. Most recently, though, which was played in October of last year, Man City 3-1 over Everton. Again, good goaltending matchup. Sir Bob and I will disagree on this one. Sir Bob will take Joe Hart. I'll take Tim Howard. And however, in this one, I do think you saw a nice little return to form for Yaya Toure this week. Looks like Aguero starting to get his feet back under him, which is a good thing to see. Dzeko had a nice game this weekend as well. And Sir Bob is hoping that Everton has thrown in the towel and trying to chase that Champions League position, especially with them losing this weekend on the 2 own goals, and Arsenal following that up with a 3-0 win today over Newcastle. I think, Sir Bob, you may actually be right. I think it's going to be too little too late. I think they'll realize it, and they'll probably just want to lock up that Europa position so they don't have to give it up to a team like Tottenham. So looking at the two teams, again, Man City, 35 games played, 77 points. Everton, 36 matches played in 5th place, 69 points. Man City led by the usual. Yaya Toure, 19 goals. Aguero, 16. Dzeko with 12. David Silva, who's injured still, on 9 assists. Jesus Navas on 7. And Kolarov on 6 assists. Looking at the Everton side, Romelu Lukaku leading the way. The soon-to-be Chelsea product again, 13 goals. Kevin Morales, who I believe got injured this weekend as well, 8 goals. And Seamus Coleman, the defenseman who scored one on his own team this week, in 3rd place with 6 goals. Kevin Morales with 8 assists and Lukaku with 6 assists. Gareth Barry with 4 assists here. Sir Bob, I think this one's an easy one. I can't remember where they're playing this one. They are playing this at Everton. They're playing this at Goodison Park. I'm going to take Man City in a 2-1 win on this one. Seems to be my score of choice this week. And just writing this down. In fact, this week, I'm taking all 5 road teams. So just to go back through my scores, going to take Sevilla 2-1. Going to take Lyon 2-0. Mönchengladbach 2-1 over Mainz. Inter over AC Milan 1-0. And Man City 2-1 over Everton. Those are going to be our five predicted matches for this week. So, looking at the Premier League, again, like we had talked about earlier, Liverpool leading the way, 80 points. 2 points ahead of Chelsea, but they've played the same amount of matches. Man City, 77 points, 1 game in hand. So they're 3 points back, again, hence the ability to tie them on points. And they currently hold a +8 goal differential over Liverpool at the moment. 4th place, Arsenal on 73 points. Still, if you see a slip up from City, you could potentially see something happen there, but that would have to be a massive slip. I don't see that happening at all. Everton in 5th place on 69 points. Tottenham on 66 points. That's a pretty close run there. You might get a little bit of a better game out of Everton, knowing that Tottenham has been playing reasonably well as of late, beating Stoke 1-0. Prior to that, Fulham 3-1, drawing West Brom 3-3 in a comeback, and totally smoking Sunderland 5-1. Their last match and their only loss in their last 6 is the 4-0 loss to Liverpool. And then to Sir Bob's delight, 7th place, totally out of any competitions for this year, Manchester United. They are 9 points back of Everton, and with 3 matches to play, they would have to win them all, and Everton would have to lose them all. So I don't see that happening. And behind them, Southampton at 52 points, Newcastle at 46, and Stoke at 44, propping up the bottom of the table. Again, we're going to have a great little race here at the bottom, and I'm seeing a couple teams actually jump back into this relegation race. Cardiff on 30 points. I think everyone wants to see Vincent Tan go back to the Championship. Fulham on 31 points, and I don't think anybody wants to see them relegated. Norwich on 32, and Sunderland on 32, but Sunderland has a game at hand and actually playing reasonably well at the moment. Winners of two straight, beating Cardiff 4-0 this weekend and beating Chelsea in that big upset 2-1. And I'm sure, and I'm just looking back over at the chat there, seeing that David Moyes was doing a fine job, and he's disappointed to see him go. Prior to Sunderland, they drew 2-2 to City, which everyone remembers, coming off the schneid. Norwich really failing at the moment, losing 5 straight, but big matches, losing to Man United 4-0, losing to Liverpool 3-2, losing to Fulham 1-0, which is when they should have probably won, losing to West Brom 1-0, and losing to Swansea 3-0. So the other team kind of jumping back into this relegation race, only 3 points out of it, is Aston Villa at 35 and West Brom at 36. I think West Ham and Hull at 37, although not mathematically safe, are reasonably safe. There's a lot of teams between them. I think if anyone has to worry, it's West Ham, losers of 4 straight at the moment. I think Hull is definitely playing well enough that they're good. Swansea at 39, Crystal Palace at 43 points. Those guys are all safe, so I don't see anything happening there. So that's going to wrap up our coverage of the leagues for this week. Let's move over to, I'm just going to take a quick look at my rundown here. Just a couple quick things to mention. This would have been a little bit more relevant if we were able to have a show last week. And I'm not going to repeat what Sir Bob just wrote in the chat, but let's say he's just not happy with one Ryan Giggs. Copa del Rey result, Real Madrid 2-1 over Barcelona. That at the time, that was Barca's 3rd straight loss in all competitions. And the Coupe de la Ligue was PSG 2-1 over Lyon, 2 goals from Edison Cavani. So kind of get the, problem with running a show 2 weeks late is that we kind of have to clean up the mess here. So moving on, let's head over to the Champions League semifinals. Let's start out with Tuesday's match. Atletico Madrid 0, Chelsea 0. This one was a decent match. I didn't get to see the entire matchup or the entire game, and for some reason I don't have all my statistics here. If you just bear with me 1 second, actually that's going to be right over here in the match center. So let's okay, so we've gotten into it. 0-0 draw again, like I had mentioned before. Shots on this one were 25-5 in favor of Atletico, 4-2 shots on goal in favor of the Atletico, and Atletico holding 69% of the possession. Going to the Vicente Calderón is not an easy thing to do, but Chelsea did it. Now coming home, certainly in control at this point because not giving up a goal going home. Obviously you have to be fearful of giving up that road goal, but Chelsea going to Stamford Bridge with Jose Mourinho, I'm sure I'm sure I predicted earlier that Chelsea would move through on this one and move to the final, and I still do believe that. So let's move on into the other match, which is the Real Madrid Bayern Munich match. And that one saw Real Madrid take a 1-0 win on that one. And I'm just as we're loading up the page here quickly, I'm just getting into the match center. I thought I'd heard something about Ryan Giggs and his brother's wife, and I just didn't want to bring it up here. So Karim Benzema in the 19th minute, scoring the only goal in Champions League last week. leading to a 1-0 win. Shots on this one were 18-9 in favor of Munich. Shots on goal 5-4 in favor of Real Madrid. And Munich holding 72% of the possession. Really, the bulk of their possession in this one was held in the second half, trying to make that comeback after the Benzema goal, but unable to do it. But again, down 1-0 going back to the Allianz is not a horrible situation for them. I'm surprised. You could see the game plan in this one was that they were going to lock up Arjen Robben, which they did quite effectively, and let things happen as they will, and that's what happened. And I'm surprised we didn't get a better game out of Frank Ribery than we did. But we are moving to the Allianz. I had predicted prior to this matchup that it would be Bayern Munich over Real Madrid, and we'd see a Bayern-Chelsea final in Portugal. And I'm still going to stick with that. I don't think I see any need to change that. Pep Guardiola is probably arguably the best coach in European football right now. I'm sure others would like to argue it's Mourinho, but that is it. There's a reason they say lock up the wife and kids when Giggs comes to town. I'm sure that's a chant that we should be hearing soon enough in Manchester, I would say. So moving forward, we're still sticking with our Chelsea Bayern Munich championship here, and we'll see. The second legs here are going to be played. I believe it's Bayern on Tuesday and Atletico Chelsea on Wednesday. So heading over to the Europa League and the Europa League fixtures, we're going to talk. Let's start first with Sevilla Valencia, as that one's going to probably be the easiest one to go over. Sevilla, prior to this, and I had posted these predictions on our Facebook page, I had taken Sevilla and Juventus to advance to the final. And on this one, we had Sevilla 2-0. I'm just trying to call up the results on this one, as I did have to close out a bunch of my windows because the internet was really giving us trouble to load up the show this evening. Okay, here we go. So Sevilla again with a 2-0 win over Valencia at home. Goals by Stefan Mebia in the 33rd minute and Carlos Baca in the 36th minute. And the statistical information on this one: shots, Sevilla 13-12 with a 5-3 on target advantage, but Valencia holding the possession at 59%. Sevilla knowing they only have to go to Valencia and really lose 1-0. I don't see them giving this one up at all. So I think that's going to be the ultimate result. Is Sevilla is going to come through and certainly win this one. The trickier result that we're going to have to talk about is Juventus Benfica. And unfortunately with this one, I had said it earlier, the winner of this match is going to be the Europa League champion. I don't think either team is capable of beating, either Sevilla or Valencia are capable of beating either Benfica or Juventus. Looking at the statistics in this one, we had Ezequiel Garay in the second minute scoring for Benfica. Carlos Tevez on a pretty goal, tying this in the 73rd, with Lima in the 84th minute scoring a fantastic goal to give Benfica the 1-0 win. Statistics in this one: Juve leading the way with shots 10-8 with a 5-2 on target advantage and holding 58% of the possession. I don't want to say dominated, but certainly I thought played the better part of the match over Benfica. And yeah, I know I'm a Juventus homer, but just from what I saw, this is of the 4 European matches that were played this week, this is the one that I actually watched. So I don't see Juve giving this up. You've got to remember, Juve just needs to go home. We're at the new Juventus Stadium. They've only lost 4 matches so far, and I believe it's in 3 years. And they're going home to this stadium with a team that they basically dominated on the road, with the need to only win 1-0. I don't see them losing this match. So we're sticking with our Juve-Sevilla final in the Europa, and we're going to stick with our Bayern Munich-Chelsea result in the Champions League. So that's going to wrap up our European coverage completely now. We are going to move on to, let me just close this out here, something Sir Bob had asked for, which I started to do a little bit of homework on. Let's see. It's a lot harder to win. The matches aren't fixed, isn't it? Well, we just don't win them 3-0. We win them 2-0, Sir Bob. So, it is what it is. But like I had mentioned earlier in the show, and Ben's probably going to be in for a little bit of a shock when he gets back from his short hiatus, which he should be back next week. We're going to start introducing the MLS into the show. Obviously, with Europe winding down, we're going to have a block. We're certainly going to have a busy time to talk about the World Cup. But come July 13th, things will get quiet. We'll have a nice big show to wrap up our coverage of the World Cup, and then we're really going to be quiet other than transfers until sometime late August, early September. So I think it's a great opportunity to bring in MLS. I do have a friend that works in the front office for MLS. I will be going to thanks to him, I will be going to the New York Red Bull, St. Louis, New York Red Bull Kansas City match in September. So I'm very, very excited to go see that at Red Bull Arena. And I want to thank my buddy Nelson for that. And hopefully, as we move on and we get out of this, get out of the European leagues, probably a few weeks after Europe winds down and just before the World Cup starts, I'm going to contact Nelson, see if I can have him come on, and we'll talk a little bit of MLS. I know he is traveling, I believe, to Brazil for MLS to cover the World Cup. So I think it would be great to have him on and chit chat with him. So let's kick it off then. Let's head over to the 3 Canadian teams. I'm going to save the one that Sir Bob probably wants to talk about for last. So let's start with Vancouver. And Vancouver is Troy's team. We've covered Vancouver a couple of times with the Camilo Sanvizo thing. He led the league in scoring last year. He's now gone on to Mexico, I believe. I think Toluca, but I'm not sure. But losing the league's leading goal scorer has really hurt Vancouver at the moment. And I haven't gotten into the MLS standings yet, which I will load them up at the end to talk about where these teams stand currently. But wanted to bring up, looking at their most recent results, they drew 0-0 with the Revolution. They did beat the Houston Dynamo 2-1 at home. They lost to Colorado 2-1 at home, lost to LA Galaxy on the road, and then drew the Galaxy at home, and then drew Real Salt Lake, which is no easy task. Led by Jay Demerit, who's American international, and then I'll get into the standings. They also have a couple of other players, but really haven't done enough to replace Sanvizo on this team. Currently led by Miller. Let me just find. I think it was Kevin Miller. Kenny Miller. He leads the way in goals, scored with 3 goals. And just looking at assists, Maddox, and I am familiar with that name. Darren Maddox, of course, from Jamaica, leads the way with 3 assists for them. Maddox, obviously forward, and Miller playing forward for them as well. So, just a quick little rundown of Vancouver. Their next match it looks to be this weekend. They're going to be at home against San Jose Earthquakes, and then they play on the 11th against Columbus Crew in Columbus. So, while I have that page up, I'm going to go ahead and load up the Major League Soccer page and head over to the Montreal Impact. Montreal Impact last year, led by Marco Di Vaio, the Italian international, who led the way in goals and was close on winning the goal-scoring title. Currently, their leading goal scorer at the moment, which they're really not scoring many, is Felipe Martins, scoring 2 goals. Then they've got Romero, Di Vaio, McInerney, and Wenger with a goal apiece. And leading the way for assists is Justin Mapp with 3, with Martins with 2 assists, and Di Vaio with an assist as well. Just taking a quick look at the Montreal team. Quite a few internationals on this one. Like I said, Matteo Ferrari, Italian. Let's see, Andres Romero and Hernan Bernadello from Argentina. Obviously, Marco Di Vaio, who we had just mentioned, from Italy as well. So, looking at their most recent run, they lost to Seattle on March 23rd, 2-0 at home. Drew the Philadelphia Union 1-1, drawing the New York Red Bull 2-2. drawing the Chicago Fire 1-1, and then losing to Sporting Kansas City 4-0 before beating the Philadelphia Union this week 1-0. So I'm going to move on to Toronto, which is probably the team. Their strikers Maddox looks pretty good. He's the Jamaican international. He's been you've seen him if you've watched the U.S. and their qualifying runs. Maddox is certainly a handful when it comes to playing for the Jamaican national team. When you see the name, you definitely recognize it. So it's going to be interesting to see. DeVio had I think an above average last season for Montreal, so they're going to be a team to watch, and we'll look at the standings, like I said, in a moment, just to see kind of where these three teams are sitting. But the last one, Sir Bob, of course, is the Toronto FC team that has really made headlines this year in MLS with their big acquisitions. The three biggest ones, obviously related to Sir Bob, Bradley Orr, sort of. But no, the big names coming over here are Julio Cesar, the Brazilian goalkeeper, Jermaine Defoe, the English international, who's probably going to end up making the squad for England, I would think, as one of their strikers, at least going to be part of the 23-man squad. And then, of course, Michael Bradley, American international, coming over from Roma, really leading the way for this team. I believe he's appeared in every match for them so far. And just looking down their list, it's kind of a who's who. Dwayne De Rosario, who's been a veteran in MLS. Jonathan Osorio, the Canadian, who's a pretty solid player. Joe Bednick in goal. Backing up Julio Cesar as well. So, a decent side for this team. Being led by the way in goals by Jermaine Defoe, Nakajima with 2 goals, and Michael Bradley with 1. Assists, they're kind of spread it out. Morrow, Bloom, and Osorio with 1 each. And looking at their most recent run of form, starting from oldest to newest, beating Seattle Sounders 2-1, beating DC United 1-0, losing to Salt Lake 3-0, then beating the Crew 2-0, but they're on a 2-game losing streak at the moment, losing 1-0 to the Rapid and losing 2-1 to FC Dallas. So, this team is certainly going to be one of the ones to watch moving forward the rest of the season. So just kind of taking a look at to where these Canadian teams fall. If you excuse me 1 second, Sir Bob. And I'm just getting the notes here. Bradley missed the last 2 games because of injury, and they've lost the last 2 games in the last 2 minutes. So obviously my wife will only let me watch so much soccer or football. So I have to kind of limit it, and wrapping up the European leagues, I'm obviously going to be taking in more MLS as we move along here. So again, in the Eastern Conference, we have Toronto, who's currently sitting in 6th place on 9 points, 3 points back of the Columbus Crew. Columbus has only lost 1 match so far this season, and this is the first time I'm looking at these, Sir Bob, so bear with me if I sound slightly ignorant. It's just because I haven't had the opportunity to kind of look them over. Montreal Impact dead last, 1 win, 3 draws, 4 losses, 6 points. But again, the season's early, only 8 matches played. Going into the Western Conference, which is where we find the Vancouver Whitecaps, they currently sit in 5th place. They are on 10 points, 2 points better than the LA Galaxy, but 6 points back of the Seattle Sounders and the and FC Dallas. And currently just and Sir Bob, I'm just taking a quick look. Yes, you do have a game in hand on the Columbus Crew. Toronto's only played 6 matches. Columbus, Sporting KC, DC United have played 7. The Red Bulls have actually played 9, with the Revs playing 8. The Philadelphia Union, you are 1 point ahead of, you also have 3 games at hand on. You're the only team, actually the only team to play less matches right now than Toronto are the LA Galaxy at 5 matches, and San Jose an equal amount of matches at 6. And looking over quickly, Toronto 3 wins, no draws, 3 losses. San Jose playing the exact same amount of matches, 1 win, 3 draws, 2 losses. They're on 6 points, and Sir Bob, your team's on 9, so 3 points better with the same amount of games played. Again, I think this Toronto team is going to be challenging for the championship. Certainly a solid side. The only other impressive stat, or the impressive thing that I can find at the moment, is that Real Salt Lake, after 8 matches, has not lost yet. They are 3 wins, 5 draws, 13 goals for, 8 goals against. Again, Nick Raimondo in goal. Looking at their run on their last 6 matches, if I can just get my mouse over here, most recently they drew the Vancouver Whitecaps 2-2 that we had just mentioned. They beat Portland 1-0, and drawing the Union 2-2. They drew Sporting KC 0-0. Salt Lake 3-0 over Toronto, and drawing the Galaxy 1-1. Let's see here. NYC have already had 2 weeks off. And you know, this whole MLS season is really going to be messy. I believe I heard something. I was listening to Sirius XM satellite radio this week, and they were talking about how the league is taking 2 weeks off during the World Cup. I believe the first 2 weeks of the World Cup, they're taking the time off. But because they have U.S. Cup matches, a lot of these teams that are quote-unquote off aren't going to actually be off. They're actually going to be playing matches. I think Siggy Schmid was, the coach of the Seattle Sounders, was kind of upset about it. That here you wanted to give your players a little bit of rest coming into the season, and you're not able to do that. So it's kind of they're kind of put off by that. I'm just going to take a look at here. They have a game at hand on Columbus. LA and San Jose have already had 2 weeks off. The other thing that I see that's interesting here on the results, like we had just mentioned, Real Salt Lake, no losses. They are, like we said, 3 wins, 5 draws. The other thing, the Chicago Fire is on a slow and steady form. They have 1 loss. They've not won a match. They have drawn their last 6 matches, which I see this as pretty interesting. Revolution 1-1. The Montreal Impact 1-1, drawing the Union 2-2, drawing DC United 2-2, drawing the Red Bull 1-1, and drawing Timber 1-1. So that's kind of an interesting little run of form for them as well. So again, next week, Sir Bob, we're going to bring you 3 more teams. I mean, if you want to put 3 teams in the chat, I know you wanted me to kind of preview the Canadian teams, and I gave you a little bit of a taste of them. But next week, if you want to do 3 more MLS teams, because obviously you're our most faithful listener. If you have 3 more teams you want me to kind of discuss quickly, by all means, put them in the chat, put them on Twitter, shoot me a message, let me know what teams you like. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of randomly pick 3 teams and then go from there. I will probably hold Sporting Kansas City and Real Salt Lake to last, as they played for the championship last year, so I'd like to hold them off a little bit. And maybe hold off the Red Bull a little bit, as they won the Supporters' Shield last year. So maybe we'll kind of leave those 3 out of it. But if you want to pick 3 teams for me, I'm happy to do it. I'm also kind of interested to look at the Chivas team, especially with all the turmoil they were in last year. Now that they've got new ownership, it looks like they're actually playing a little better, which is kind of interesting. I mean, 1 win, 3 draws, and 4 losses in their first 8 matches. But I think even that's a stretch compared to last year. I think the other surprise right now is the Portland Timbers. Caleb Porter had that team firing on all thrusters last year, and now they've really kind of slumped. They haven't won a match yet this year. 5 draws, 3 losses on a team that really, when you think about, when you've watched some of these Timbers games on TV, strong support from the fans there. It's almost like that 12th man that they get up in Seattle. I mean, just really rowdy crowd, and they're an impressive team to watch. I do like to watch the Timbers play a little bit. So, but if you want to pick 3 teams for me to preview, I'd be happy to do it. So, let's move on. And again, because of our internet fail, I had to close out some pages. So I'm going to be opening up some stuff here, if you'll bear with me 1 second, and we'll kind of load up the rest of the show here. But what's left on our agenda for the evening is our World Cup preview, and of course Sir Bob's Man City Corner, which I actually have listed from last week's show, which is kind of old. But let's get into the World Cup preview then. Let's kick it off. The 2 teams we're going to go into this week, which I believe is, and if I can't remember correctly, if I think it's Group E at this point. 2 teams we're going to preview are France and Switzerland. So let's kick it off with France. Let's start out with them. They're currently ranked 16th in the world, and their odds, according to William Hill, to win the World Cup are 20-1. Getting into their profile here, obviously they've appeared 13 times. They're currently ranked 16th. They have won the 98 tournament, if I remember correctly, with the likes of Didier Deschamps, who is currently their coach, and Laurent Blanc, who currently coaches the PSG team. But qualifying, they did have to play a playoff to get in. And actually right now it's escaping me as to who they played, and I didn't want to load up that much more for fear of totally drowning out our internet signal here. Let's see. Toronto has 0 ties, and there's a lot of draws. Laurent Blanc, yes, he's currently the coach at PSG. He was part of the team that did take them to the '98 World Cup in France. So key players according to FIFA.com on the French side. Pretty standard. Hugo Lloris is going to be their goaltender. Steven Mandanda is the backup, who's a very solid goalie. If you're familiar with European football, you've got Eric Abidal, Laurent Koscielny, Raphael Varane, Franck Ribéry, Karim Benzema, Olivier Giroud, and the one name they didn't mention here, which I thought was interesting, was Paul Pogba. Pogba leading France to the Under-20 World Cup just last year. Certainly going to make this team and considered a starter, going to be certainly high flying. Looking at their schedule moving forward for the French national team here, if I can just get this loaded up quickly, their schedule in this round robin is going to be they're going to play Honduras on the 15th. They're going to play Switzerland, which is going to be the big matchup in this one on the 20th. And they're going to play Ecuador on the 25th. So, and I'm sorry, this is Group E, and these are the last 2 teams we're going to be covering in Group E. We'll move on to Group F next week. France should come out of this group. I don't see them, the 2 teams that we're going to preview this week, I think, are the 2 teams that are going to move forward. I think Ecuador, to be honest with you, there's a lot of love for Switzerland for some reason, but I really think that Ecuador is going to be the team that's going to be out. If they do sneak in, they're going to sneak in at Switzerland's expense. Larry White. We don't call him Laurent Blanc in the Blue Heaven. It's Larry. That is true. It is Larry White. So Larry White is currently the coach of Paris Saint-Germain, and which is also a lovely drink, by the way. So I thought I should mention that to you. So, but Laurent Blanc, yes, that is correct. Moving on to the Swiss team. Not as well known, but again, they're currently ranked 8th in the world. They are 100-1 according to William Hill to win this tournament, and they have they've been to the tournament 9 times, most recently in 2010, and reaching the last 8 on 3 occasions. However, their most recent quarterfinal stage appearance came in 1954 on home soil, so not a whole heck of a lot of history there. Looking at the key players, they have a goalkeeper by the name of Diego Benaglio, who was a German champion with VF Wolfsburg in 2009. Probably the biggest name that you're going to see, or the biggest 2 names you're going to see, are Gökhan Inler, who's playing for Napoli right now, and Philippe Senderos, who right now where he's playing is escaping me. But again, the days of Stephen Chapuisat are long gone. And for some reason, like I said, this Swiss team is getting a lot of love, and I just don't see it. And but again, they're getting that love for a reason. So their schedule follows: June 15th, they'll be opening against Ecuador in the Estadio Nacional in Brasilia. Then on the 20th, the big match against France. That is going to be in Salvador, and closing the tournament with probably a win over Honduras and Manaus on the 25th. So. Again, our 2 predicted teams to move forward from Group E are going to be these 2 teams, France and Switzerland. I don't see Ecuador or Honduras challenging them. Like I said, Ecuador might give them a little bit of a challenge, and it's going to be interesting to see how that June 15th match kind of plays out to really determine what's going to happen with these 2 teams moving forward. But I think that's really going to be it. So. That is going to wrap up our World Cup coverage, and again next week we'll open up with Group F. But moving into Sir Bob's Man City Corner, Really, originally with the Man City corner last week, I was going to recap the match against Liverpool, in which I can, if you give me one moment. Let's see. Okay, Senderos left Fulham for Valencia. I mean, I know I'd seen the name, I just couldn't remember where I'd seen it. So, just looking up our Man City statistics from the previous week, the Liverpool match. But I do want to get into their schedule moving forward. In fact, for some reason, I can't seem to find the statistical information from the Liverpool match, which they had lost 3-2 on a late goal. If you just bear with me one second here. Here it is, actually. So Liverpool, again, beating Man City. This is a couple weeks ago. This is April 13th. And as far as Sir Bob's concerned, the Liverpool match never happened. However, I'll go over these mythical statistics that happened. Raheem Sterling opened the scoring in the 6th minute with Martin Skrtel in the 26th, making it 2-0. David Silva in the 57th minute really on a great play. And again, this is the match that Yaya Toure got hurt on, where there was suspicion that he might not even make the rest of the season. But apparently that is no longer true, seeing that he scored a beautiful goal this weekend. Really a no-look goal, which was amazing to see. But again, Yaya Toure getting hurt in this one, which I think affected this match quite a bit. Glenn Johnson with an own goal, making it 2-2. And then Philippe Coutinho in the 78th minute scoring a pretty nice goal to give Liverpool the mythical victory in this one. I did not see John Joe Shelby's goal this weekend, so I do have to check the highlights for that one. But moving forward on this one, the stats on this one were shots, City 13-10, shots on goal were 5-4 in favor of City. City held the possession. The only thing City didn't win again was the match itself. But what I want to do now is go into City's remaining 4 matches. I believe they have 4 matches left, which of course they're not really cooperating with me on who scored to give me all of the matches that are remaining for them. So as I'm just trying to load up the fixtures here for us for Man City, the reason I want to do this, there's 3 left. Okay, and I see what they are. Actually, let's see. That doesn't look... Okay, so our last 3 matches for City coming up. Again, Everton away, which is the big one, the featured match this week. And then they've got some easy ones, Sir Bob. They've got Aston Villa at home and West Ham at home. And I've got to think... there's no way they lose the City Villa game, and there's no way they lose the West Ham game. So really, their title hopes really rest on this game this weekend, making it more important and making it tougher. I mean, they're going to have to go into Goodison Park, and they're going to have to play an Everton team who is really fighting to keep Tottenham out of that Europa position. Roberto Martinez, as we've seen, he's not one to really play quote-unquote defense. He's really going to take the play at them. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle that. Sir Bob, I hate to say it, but I think your worry is really going to be in the ability for Joe Hart to not make a mental mistake, and the ability of guys like Di Michaelis and company to keep Romelu Lukaku at bay in this one. Obviously, Kevin Morales, I believe, was injured, like I said, this weekend, and probably not playing. And I will leave this up, so I will watch this. Actually, what the heck? I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, but let's take a look at the John Joe Shelby goal that Sir Bob is talking about. So I don't know if we can hear that over the air, but it looks like it's against Aston Villa.
Wasn't a bad ball in from Hernandez.
And the ball played out by defense. Shelby by midfield. Oh, wow, that's ridiculous. So basically, John Joe Shelby, I'm going to pause this so
John Joe Shelby with a wonderful piece of improvisation.
And tucks it in the corner as well. That is absolutely amazing. So John Joe Shelby picks off a pass at midfield and just rifles one over Brad Guzan and into the upper right corner of the net. That is absolutely an amazing goal for him. And he seems to be scoring a lot of those lately, but, that is certainly something interesting. So Sir Bob, obviously you're in the chat. Obviously this is your corner. Obviously this is your team. I don't think there's any dispute on City beating Villa at home, and I don't think there's any dispute on City beating West Ham at home. Knowing that basically the season rests on the fixture that's in front of them at Everton, I'd like a prediction out of you, and we'll put it on our Facebook page, and we'll put it on our Poker Forums page that this is your prediction on this weekend's match. And you wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool drops points, but I think at this point we have to assume Liverpool's not going to drop points. Let's if you'll bear with me a second while I'm awaiting with bated breath your prediction on the match. And I don't think Chelsea can win because you would outpoint Chelsea at that point. So I don't think Chelsea is the worry. I think this is really Man City's and Liverpool's to play for. And just looking at the statistics here, the most points Chelsea can end up with if they win out their last two matches is 84 points. Liverpool, obviously, if they win out their last two matches, end up with 86, and Man City, if they win their last three, end up with 86. So I don't think it's Chelsea you have to worry about. And I know it's been a freaky season, but I've got to tell you, I predicted at the beginning of the year I took Man City to win this championship, and I have not varied. A Man City tie and a Liverpool tie absolutely would be a nightmare situation for Liverpool and City. And certainly Chelsea can win their last two matches. Looking at Liverpool's final two that they've got Crystal Palace at home. Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. That's not an easy match. Crystal Palace is really playing well lately. And then obviously they've got Liverpool at Anfield, and I think that's going to be a win. Newcastle really is stinking up the joint. And I did. I'm reading it as I'm talking. A Man City tie, a Liverpool tie, 2 Chelsea wins, 3-way tie, and they still win on goal prediction and goal. So you're going on goal differential. So then, which match of the 3 would they tie, Sir Bob? Would they tie Everton, Villa, or West Ham? Keeping in mind the Villa and the West Ham matches are at home, and those two teams are certainly not playing well right now. And Villa's worked their way into the relegation zone, and West Ham is right there with them. So, or the relegation battle. But what about? So you think that this match this weekend is going to be Everton and Man City a draw? Would it be a 1-1 draw, 2-2, 3-3? What's your prediction? And while you're mulling that one over to give me a score, I'm going into Chelsea's schedule to look at their final 2 matches. They have Norwich at home and Cardiff on the road. So certainly Chelsea's winning those last 2 matches. There's no doubt there. I think they could send out the C team on that one. So let's look at so we've looked at all 3 teams. We've got Liverpool with a tough one at Crystal Palace. No, I'm holding you to the fire now. You've got City in a tie. I'm assuming you're going to take the Liverpool Cardiff game as a tie. So I need to know which match is going to be a tie. I see that you're taking them. I actually, what I really want from you is I want a prediction on this weekend's Everton match, because personally I think the title rests on this weekend for City. City wins this match against Everton. City wins the title, no doubt about it. And I know it's been a freaky season, but I feel like there's not so much of a freakiness about. Excuse me. It's putting your neck out, but I want to score. I want to score on this weekend. I really think City is winning this. Liverpool really lost their chance. They had certainly a Chelsea team that was, I don't want to say ripe for the picking, but you lose Peter Cech. They don't have Eden Hazard on the field. Mourinho packs it in, parks the bus behind, in front of the goal. Liverpool really needs to sneak one away. I'm surprised we didn't get anything out of, if I heard correctly, Premier League Player of the Year when Luis Suarez. didn't get anything out of him this weekend to rescue them in that match. So, but I think that's the way it's going to go. I think City's going to win. I think City's going to win the league. I think they're going to run out and win their last 3 matches. I think Everton will manage to hold off Tottenham to keep that Europa position, and I think Liverpool is going to be depressed about it. Suarez did hit the crossbar this weekend, but those don't count on the scoreboard, unfortunately. So let's hit the closing music as I've kind of run through everything that would have made it 1-1. So next week, Sir Bob, I will put it out. If you don't pick any for me, I'll pick 3 more MLS teams, and we'll cover them. We'll also cover. We'll see if PSG and Juventus can finally lock up the Serie A and Ligue 1 and kind of put their names on the mantle. We'll preview the big Barcelona Atletico Madrid matchup that's coming up to see if maybe somebody opens the door for Real Madrid to win the La Liga title. We'll see what happened with Everton and Man City to see if I'm right, to see if City is going to run to the end. We will cover the Champions League and Europa League matches, as well as kind of preview the finals, which will be coming up a couple weeks after that. In our World Cup preview, we'll talk about Bosnia, and we'll talk about Nigeria in Group F, and open up that group as well. So, Sir Bob in the chat, thank you once again for making this a fun night. I always enjoy reading your comments and having you input a lot into the show, and you really help make this show better and better every week. So again, I want to thank you personally for that. Ben should be back next week, and better than ever. And if not, I'm going to probably fly to England and beat him up myself. So, again, this was episode 26 of Low Limit Football on Low Limit Poker Radio. I am your host, Joe Usello. Thank you for joining me again, and we'll see you next week. Good night.